So my name is Simmons. I work in the Faculty of Education. My focus is initial teacher training. I'm a senior lecturer. But for this project, what I was focused on is we have an online mentor training package for our teachers out in school, which was currently hosted on Moodle and then Blackboard. That caused us some issues in terms of it was difficult to update, and also you needed passwords to access that system. So we needed a simple way of quickly updating our content ready for the new academic year, and also giving teachers access to it without having to log in. So we needed a kind of seamless way of creating it in a central area that we could then link to from our external website. So it was an accessibility issue as much as anything else that led us to choose iSpring hosted on eShare as the solution. So initially I downloaded a free version of iSpring and installed that on my desktop. That was following some training done by Carol Chatton from the Learning Services team, which gave us an overview of how that would work and also what the free version wouldn't have in it, such as the quiz tools. So we knew what we were getting into. And so started to play around with that. What I liked about it was the fact that it was just a plug-in for PowerPoint, so it was really easy just to adapt our existing materials and very quickly develop something that we could get online quickly, because that was time imperative really. We needed to get it on for the beginning of the academic year. And then following that, so we developed a prototype in the free version and then spent probably about 2 days uploading it into a version of iSpring Pro that we had on the desktop. And I guess that's something of an issue in terms of access, that we had to install it on a local machine. It was only available in one location. And we had to in fact transfer it from a colleague's machine onto my machine so that we could get access to that. So those licensing issues would need working through, I think, if a lot of people were using this. The software itself was straightforward to use, although it was quirky in some respects, and I remember that we did have some problems with image quality, so we had to make some changes to the settings in order to have really good background graphics, for example. They were quite pixelated originally. And we sent that through to Learning Services as a note for other people so that they wouldn't have to go through that same learning. What was good for us is that we knew that once it was in iSpring and on eShare, it was going to be platform neutral, so that we know that mentors out in school are typically using PCs, but sometimes they're using tablets, particularly primary school colleagues, and also obviously mobile technologies, and some of them use Apple products as well. So knowing that it would work on all of those platforms at once was great. We also like the fact that you could do a branched structure through the learning materials, so we could get mentors to go, if they didn't know a particular area, they could branch off into that area, find out about that, and then come back to the main presentation. And those controls were quite useful to making the learning package flow for mentors. So I think the highlights are that it works as a plugin within PowerPoint. So in terms of activation energy or initial training you need to get on with it, that's very low. So you install it as a plugin and you're off and running, and you're essentially making PowerPoint presentations in the same way that you're used to. So that's good. We could, of course, have just produced PowerPoint presentations and just uploaded those to eShare, but the fact that we couldn't direct the user through that PowerPoint presentation in the way that we'd want them to, and also that it would have been platform specific, were reasons that we chose to use iSpring. So I suppose they're the highlights for us. And for this particular application, we didn't need it to have all the bells and whistles, so we didn't, for example, use the quiz tool, because what was important was mentors were getting the correct information and verifying that they had. And it wasn't an interactive learning package that we were creating, it was a way of getting information across in a concise way. But for the next project that we're looking at, which is an online safeguarding package for students, that will incorporate a variety of quizzes. So this has been a good kind of activator project for us to find out what the software is capable of, and now we can see how we can use it in lots of different sorts of environments. So the other thing we'd be interested in exploring in lots of different learning packages is the role of audio narration and talking heads, for example. So we know that they can increase interaction with students, so that would be a really interesting thing to try and to see how they work. And to also see what's best practice there. A lot of talking heads tend to be very static, so maybe there's a way that we can use that visual in a different way to draw students' attention to key points. I think the other thing to say is that support from learning services was essential. So although the software is intuitive and actually creating the learning content is great, how you then make sure that you've got the best quality product and get it uploaded in a way that users are going to be able to access it, that does require some technical support. So I think that we definitely need that if we're going to roll it out across the faculty.